Okay, once again, good morning. It's Tuesday, the 4th of September, the first day of the official fall season here in Atlantic City, and it will be very noticeable this morning by davening. We had last week, we had about 40 to 50 people each day. Hopefully we'll get at least 11, right, because always good to have 11 extra one. We were talking last week. We're not learning Mishnah Berurah because somebody took my Mishnah Berurah. So that's three things that I'm missing so far. And I think I'm starting to take it personal. I brought in a sefer from the Satmar Rebbe. Somebody took it. I brought in an extension to my power cord. Somebody took it. And now somebody took the Mishnah Berurah. Yeah. And I think somebody took Tad. So that's actually four things that's missing.
Somebody almost took my tefillin too.
That's right. Somebody almost took,
No,
Anyway, so we're just going to continue learning brachas. The beginning of brachas deals with Hilchas Krishma, so we'll continue with Hilchas Krishma over here. We'll pick and choose what we can. Ari, you remember that we were talking last time. Yeah, please help yourselves. I have, Marty, you have a coffee. I got your coffee. See, I get two benefits from it. It is from yesterday already, so. So the Chachamim say that the time to learn Krishma is until midnight, but it's really more than midnight. But the reason we put midnight is to give us a buffer zone. So you should distance yourself from doing an avera. This concept is very, very important. We should always do things. We should always not do things because in case we do them, it may lead to do something else.
This is really avera, or this is mitzvah asay? Is if you don't do it, it's avera?
Yeah, if you don't do a mitzvah asay, it's an avera.
Really?
Yeah. And if you do a mitzvah, if you...
I always thought, lo ta'aseh, if you don't...
you don't... Right. If you... Yeah, it's an avera.
I didn't think...
I'm assuming a mitzvah vase is a biblical commandment. What was it? When you say mitzvah vase, you mean like a biblical commandment?
Mitzvah say means an active. There are two types of commandments Hashem gave us, positive and a negative.
Okay.
365 negative, 248 positive.
Right.
So there's an expression sometimes, what if you're faced with a situation where you want to do a mitzvah, but in order to do the mitzvah, you may actually violate another mitzvah. So which comes first? If you don't do the mitzvah, it's an aveira also. Mm-hmm. For example, what if you have an occasion to shake lulav? But the only way you can shake the lulav is to violate another desecration. Let me give you just an obvious one: to steal somebody's.
Or take the etrog on Shabbos, go cut it.
Carry it. So if you don't shake the lulav and esrog on the first day, mm-hmm. you desecrated a positive commandment of taking the four species. Okay, so is that more important than the negative commandment of not to desecrate the Shabbos? Let's assume that desecrating the Shabbos was only one negative commandment that you're violating. If you violate the Shabbos, you could be transgressing many commandments. Mm-hmm. But assuming that you only desecrated one negative commandment, how would you rule? To go ahead and do a positive mitzvah, mm-hmm. or no, forego the mitzvah, but don't desecrate the negative commandment. So there's a very clear rule that we always say: shave ve'al tasa. Sit, stay cool, and velo tasa, and don't violate a negative commandment. So, and it makes sense because when you violate a negative commandment, you're doing something actively. When you're foregoing a positive commandment, you're doing something passively.
But still, the way you're saying it, you did avera.
You did an Avera, but you did it by doing nothing.
Not by actively doing
You didn't
something.
do it with your hand. You didn't actively do something. So
you didn't do a mitzvah. I'm not sure you did that.
it's absolute an Avera. If you don't shake lulav, if you don't eat matzah, you're over a mitzvah says of eating matzahs. You're definitely over. You don't bring a chatas, you don't bring a carbon, or in the case of those punishments where you mete out 40 lashes, you don't get 40 lashes for it. So you're correct, Marty, in that. But you definitely have now.
Somebody doesn't like matzah. He doesn't want to.
You have to do tshuva for it, for sure.
Somebody doesn't like matzah. Not that it's going to hurt him, but he doesn't like it.
He doesn't like it?
No.
You still got to eat it, though.
No, he said, I cannot take it, So he did Avera?
Our rules are not dependent on what we like and we don't like.
No, sometimes something you don't like.
I'm saying, but our rules, all the mitzvahs are not dependent on whether we like something or we don't like something. Somebody can say, I like to steal. I like to do this, or I don't like this. We have to eat matzah whether we like it or not. Now, if it's a case where it's going to harm you,
I understand.
that's a
different story. I know.
go ask your local dietitian and rabbi. But even to the point where if somebody can't chew matzah, some people say somebody else should chew it for you, and you should swallow it. Okay? How do you think that muffin got so soft?
Put in a grinder.
What?
He's been here since 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
You woke up early for that?
that's it. Okay. The muffins are actually compliments of my wife.
She's
Bought
from
it
New York,
From
yeah?
New York, from Garden of Eden.
Avenue J.
Yes. Okay.
That's delicious.
I was telling Ari the other week that as a kid I always had payas. I always wore payas, and one of the reasons I wore payas is because I knew that if I wore payas, there were certain things I wouldn't do. First of all, I wouldn't want to cause a chilul Hashem, a desecration of Hashem's name. People would say, or a guy would say, there's a Jew, he thinks he's so holy, he's wearing payas and he's doing these and these things. But also for myself, it was something that I felt that if I'm wearing payas, I shouldn't be doing those things. So I didn't go to movies. I didn't do other things that some of my friends did because it was just like a protection.
Like a kippah too, the
like
same thing.
saying we're a kippah, that if I go somewhere, even in a business deal, and if I'm wearing a yarmulke, which I do, I feel that there's a greater responsibility on me to behave myself in a certain manner.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it better to, in case it's going to be a mechalel
Chil Hashem.
Chilul Hashem, isn't it better not to put it on?
Yes, yes,
for
yes,
me,
absolutely. Wearing a
for me
yarmulke is one of those things that if by wearing it, you're going to cause shame to.
So look at the Jews. See how it.
Yeah, but
sometimes I take it.
But then you have to question whether you should be doing that if it's something that would bring that.
No.
But if you have to do something or you have to go somewhere,
I'm in real estate. Right? I have a tenant, and I'm very scared if I do something wrong. They would look at me like a Jew. Things happen,
Yeah.
Things happen.
Right.
I don't like to go in front of them, and I don't want they should know I'm even Jewish.
Good, how are you?
I know they in their heart they know, and I'm a Jew.
right?
But I don't want to. Sometimes,
Exactly. You don't want to put it in their face.
yeah, sometimes it happens. I have to argue
Right.
with them for something. Then they're gonna.
Right. Now,
Did you make settlement?
the Gemara goes into great detail as to what time it is exactly. What's the window when you're allowed to begin saying Krishma, and when you have to complete it by. So just again for the record, the rule is that you can say Krishma
3 hours?
from the beginning of nightfall, which is when the Kahanim
that's
go into
night,
Truma, and it ends at sunrise. Sunrise meaning, and then there's an argument later. Then the second Mishnah in Brachas talks about when that sunrise is, and it talks about when it's light enough that you can distinguish between certain colors. And there's even an argument as to what colors it is that you have to distinguish, whether it's white or blue or green. So that
They went, the Kohanim, they eat the teruma if they are not pure, they are not.
they're not pure, they can't have truma. They have to wait till sunset, and they have to go to the mikveh.
So why they bring such a reason for Kriyat Shema? Why they don't do something positive? I mean, you know what I'm trying to say? You know, like,
Why do they use that example?
yeah, exactly.
It's
You
a good question. I don't know. I don't know.
Tumah, they don't.
But there is a reason. You know, in as part of the Gemara, we have halachas, we have Mishnah, we have a Gemara, we have halachas, and we also have something that's called Agada, which is story-like, almost fairy tale-ish. And brachas is one of the Masechtas which is especially noted for that they have a lot of these interesting stories, but which somehow don't ring true in the ears. And some people, some commentaries, not people, you know, some.
For example, in the
holy
morning,
commentaries.
For the morning, they don't go according to this. For the morning Shema,
Yeah.
they don't go according any other reason. They bring a time period, right or wrong?
Well, there is a time period. We're going to learn it.
I know, but I'm saying for night, they say the time that the Kohanim, they eat the terumah.
Right.
For the morning,
There is no.
They come with a
Put
time.
a time. Exactly. So as I was saying, so the holy commentaries, some say that these agadata, these fictitious-like stories that happen, didn't really happen.
Okay.
And they're just there they're all metaphors. But others say they really did happen. For example, you'll have stories that where somebody was walking, somebody died, and then Reb Chia went and he did something and the person became alive again. So certainly for the lay person, can't believe such a thing. But the fact of the matter is that anybody whose name was written in the Gemara, any Tana or Amora, and Ari, I'll explain to you later differently, but basically any rabbi whose name merited to be written into the Gemara, that person was capable of reviving the dead.
Wow.
Okay, so we have hundreds of people, and there probably were thousands of people that had that power. It's a power I'm sure they only used discriminately, but they were able to do that. I'll tell you, for example, that as recent as about 100 years ago, I knew the person. I don't know, you know the Liska Rebbe in Borough Park? You heard of him, right? Friedlander. So he was the great son-in-law of somebody that was called Reb Herschel, grandson, of Reb Herschel Liska. Now he had a great nephew, which actually wound up being a brother-in-law to my father. His name was Schwartz also. I spoke to people who saw this happen, and I spoke to him himself. The person is not alive anymore, but I spoke to him. He was going back. This is in Liska. That's in a certain part in Hungary. He was walking on the street, and a horse carriage came and ran him over and killed him. And they couldn't do anything with him, and they prepared for the funeral. And Herschel Liska came. This is before he became his nephew, because he became his nephew through marriage. He says to bring the child into his room, into his cheder, and told everybody to leave. And 5 minutes later, the kid walked out as if there was nothing wrong with him. This is a well-known story, but today we really don't have those type of people. But certainly in the time of the Gemara, that the world was filled with those type of tzaddikim who, there's an expression, tzaddik gozer, v'akadosh baruch hu mekayim. A tzaddik gives an order, decree. I'm sorry, I don't know English that well. Benny, thank you for correcting me. A tzaddik gives a decree, and Hashem fulfills it.
Elisha also, no?
Excuse me?
Elisha also.
Elisha also, Eliyahu also. But I'm not even going back that far. Even had the koyach to do it, that the Mechayim Esim. But there are many, many other stories that the Gemara brings down, and from many of them we can learn important halachas. There are many halachas and minhagim that we have these days which are based on stories, and sometimes fictitious stories, but certainly stories. One of those cases, one of the first cases is, I'm just going to learn it right now. What time do we
You
have?
have
You
3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Okay, there's a story, maybe we'll only finish it tomorrow, where Byoisi says that one time I was walking on the way, and I went into a house which was a ruined house, an abandoned house in Yerushalayim. After the Churban, after the destruction of Yerushalayim, there were many, unfortunately, such houses, and he walked into one of them, and Eliyahu Hanavi, Elijah the prophet, and whenever we say Eliyahu Hanavi, we add the word Zachar Latov. Eliyahu Hanavi Zachar Latov. When we do invention, we also say Harachman Hu Yishachlonis Eliyahu Hanavi Zachar Latov. He should be remembered for good. There's one other person that we add the word Zachar Latov. Anybody know? It's in Purim. It's part of Purim. When we say Shoshanas Yankov, it says V'gam Charvona Zachar Latov. So from this we deduce that Charvona was really Elijah the prophet, and that's why Charvona was really Elijah the prophet, and he's the one that suggested that Haman should be hung up on the tree that he prepared for Mordechai. So
That was one of his sarim. It's one of his ministers.
okay, let me just finish this part. Okay. So Rabbi Yossi went into this room, and Eliyahu Novi came, Elijah the prophet came, and waited for him until he finished davening and saying Krishma. Okay, after he was finished, he went over to me. He said hello. I told him back hello, and he asked me, why did you go into this house? You're not allowed to put yourself in a dangerous situation. You shouldn't really go into a house that you can possibly get hurt. A Jew is not supposed to do that. Anybody shouldn't do it, but a Jew especially has an obligation, a mitzvah to protect himself physically. Shmartem es nafshesechem, exactly. So he said that the reason, because I had to daven, and I was scared to stop on the way. Because maybe some bandits will attack me. So he said, yeah, but then but you could have just stopped and said a shortened version of the prayer. And we didn't get to it in Mishnah Berurah, but there is a shortened version of prayer. So anyway, the Gemara will continue. I'll tell you that from this story, we'll learn out many, many halachas. Okay. See you tomorrow.
Thank you, Ben.